Kia ora whānau, welcome back to day 2 of working from home. Nice bright sunny day here, which is lovely. I'm going to go for a walk soon. I thought I would just give you a wee rundown on part 2 of the teenagers unit. So hopefully you've engaged with that text, with the document that I made you. That'll give you a bit of background as to what we're doing. But now I'm going to give you the first poem. I'm going to read it out now and then go through some of the questions. The poem and the questions themselves will be on Google Classroom, and I'll post them onto the Google Hangouts forum as well. So this one here is called For Heidi with Blue Hair, and it's by a woman called Fleur Adcock. When you dyed your hair blue, or at least ultramarine, for the clipped sides with a crest of jet black spikes on top, you were sent home from school. Because, as the headmistress put it, although dyed hair was not specifically forbidden, yours was, apart from anything else, not done in the school colours. Tears in the kitchen, telephone calls to school from your freedom-loving father. She's not a punk in her behaviour, it's just a style. You wiped your eyes, also not in a school colour. She discussed it with me first, we checked the rules, and anyway, Dad, it cost $25. Tell them it won't wash out, not even if I wanted to try. It would have been unfair to mention your mother's death, but that shimmered behind the arguments. Your school had nothing else against you. The teachers twittered and gave in. Next day, your black friend had hers done, in grey, white, and flax and yellow. The school colours precisely, an act of solidarity, a witty tease. The battle was already won. Right, so pretty short poem, and I think pretty on the nose as well, so you could probably figure out what it's about pretty much just by reading it a first time, but go ahead and read it a second, third time if you need to, if you don't quite get it. But essentially it's just about a girl with blue hair, a little bit of things going on in her life in the background as well. The poem explores schoolyard rebellion as a student tries to find and express their individuality, but meets the challenge of sacrosanct school rules. So sacrosanct pretty much just means like regarded as too important or valuable to be interfered with. So like school rules, some people really see school rules as something that mustn't change, that they are the be all and end all sort of thing. However, like things like dyeing your hair, not really that big a deal in the grand scheme of things. Obviously you've got to follow some school rules, but really, well, yes you do, but you know, school colouring your hair just seems a bit trivial to get into any sort of trouble over. However, this is set against a backdrop of a personal tragedy as the girl is struggling to come to terms with her mum's death, and the dye is part of her lashing out or challenging an unfair world. Both her friends and her father rally around her and support her challenge to the overbearing school rules and see her initial suspension overturned and the blue hair remaining. So big win. Sorry, I've just got a notification here. Cool. So she wins. Awesome. Good stuff. Now, some of the questions. So you got some first impressions questions and then a second look questions. That requires you to fill out some techniques, examples, and explanations. And then you've want to go beyond the surface. So these are the questions that are not so much on the nose. These are like, what's happening in the background? And then after you've done all that, you want to apply your knowledge. So these are the longer sort of answers. I'll go through those in a minute. But I will let you know, so we've got one here. We're going to study a few more, and we need 4 in total to make up our assessment, and then you're going to compare all of those texts. But don't stress too much. Don't think about that. Don't stress about the end goal, because that won't be for a while yet. Just think about each text individually for now. So, first impressions. What do we find out about Heidi? What impression do you get of Heidi? What do we find out about her father? And what do we find out about the headmistress or the school principal? You can talk about maybe their personalities there, or some things that they're dealing with or going through, or for example with the father, freedom loving, what does that imply? What kind of dad do you reckon this guy is? He doesn't care about the hair colour, so why should the principal, sort of thing? And then in a second look, who's speaking in the poem? Is it from Heidi's perspective? I don't think so. Who do you think they're speaking to? How's the poem structured? Like, how is it set on the page, in lines and verses? Identify any unusual words or phrases that you might not know, and write them down to find out what they mean. So create yourself a wee glossary. This is especially important when it comes to sort of like studying English, because you get a lot of texts that, you know, you can read and you can understand, but sometimes there are those words that you don't get and you kind of just skim over. But rather than just skimming over them, make sure that you do find out, because it could actually change the tone or the mood of the poem completely. All right, I learned this at high school, but I really put it into practice at university, because there were a lot of texts where I was kind of just skipping through the words I didn't know because they were too big, or I didn't think that they were that important. However, I found out that yes, they were important, and it kind of, yeah. Anyway, I won't go too much into that. Just a wee tip for you. Identify any unusual, no, I just said that. Identifying language techniques. So find an example of each of the following. So we've got metaphor, alliteration, and onomatopoeia. You want to give an example of each one of those. So what's an example from the poem of a metaphor? What's an example from the poem of alliteration? And what's an example from the poem of onomatopoeia? And then you want to explain it. So explain the effect of those techniques in the poem. Explain what's the effect on you or the reader, or yeah. Another one there is colour symbolism. Okay, so with colour symbolism, where is that in the poem? Give an example and explain it. Looking beyond the surface. So why do you think the poet wrote this poem? What are they trying to do? What is the purpose of this poem? Remember we in Close Friend, we looked at director's purpose. So it's the same thing here, but we're looking at author or poet's purpose. So what message did she want to get across to her reader? The purpose. How might she know Heidi? Now, we don't know this for sure, but you can kind of make inferences, or you can kind of make assumptions based on what we're reading. Describe the tone or the mood of the poem. What words can help create this mood? So it's kind of two questions in one there. We've done tone and mood in class before, so you want to identify what is the tone, what is that feeling that you get from reading this poem. There might be a couple. It might start here and then end here in two different tones and two different moods. And then you want to describe then you want to tell us, or me, what words help create this mood. So you want to give examples. How would you describe the attitude of the poet to Heidi? Explain why you think this. So what would you, if you met Heidi, what would you say to her in terms of the attitude of the poet? So you can say, I read this really cool poem about you the other day, and this is what the poet thought of you. So if you think about it like that, what would you write? What would you tell Heidi about this poem or about the poet? And then applying our knowledge. How important is hair colour in relation to how you do at school? Give a reason for your answer. So these questions here, or this question in particular, this is really your idea. So I can't really answer this for you, but have a think about it. How important is hair colour in relation to how you do at school? Okay. Describe a time when a friend has stuck up for or supported you. What does this poem tell us about friendship? So have you ever kind of got in trouble at school for a silly reason, like maybe a teacher was wrong about you? Or have you got in trouble with another mate or with someone that you don't even know and someone's had to stick up for you? If you have, what does this poem tell us about friendship? Remember there's that word solidarity, okay? What does the black friend do at the very end to show her solidarity? Has anything like that happened to you? Okay? I hope that one makes sense, but ask me questions if you don't quite get it. Imagine that you're Heidi. What advice would you give to your friend the next day? Hold on. And then what advice would you give to a new student coming to Rangiora about the rules of the school? I'm going to ignore number 13 for the moment because that's more, I can't really explain that without giving it away. So you have a go at that one, the imagine you're Heidi bit, and I will kind of, I'll go through the marking and kind of sort that out later on. But number 12, also the numbering's not in order. Sorry, this is a really bad ending to the video, but anyway, the last question there, which is number 12, what advice would you give to a new student coming to Rangiora High School about the rules of the school? So what would you tell them? If we got a new student in and you became mates with them, or a friend of yours from another school came here, how would you explain the rules of RHS to them? Would you talk about the aspire, respect, contribute, lighthouse rules, or would you say something else? Would you say that the teachers have different ideas of rules, or what are the sacrosanct rules of the school? Okay, the video's gone on a bit too long and I'm starting to lose my words, so I'm going to end it here. No fancy stuff today, just because I thought this is pretty straightforward. I don't need to really put it up on my screen because like it's all here for you anyway. So have a go at that if you can. I want everybody to have a go at it and sort of have it back to me by kind of Tuesday at the latest, so I can give you the second text on Wednesday. Any questions, message me on email, Hangouts, or just, yeah, whatever. Alright, have a good day. Get in the sun, because on the east side it's lovely. Don't know about where you are, but hopefully it's nice too. Have a good day.